attitude towards different educational issues and gain an insight into the personal values that you have related to those issues. So relax, enjoy the questions, and Bob will start off.
Along that line of relaxing and enjoying the questions, maybe you could tell us, first of all, something about yourself and the things you've done and the things you're proud of in school and elsewhere.
Okay. The things I've done. I'd like to start with those areas. In education, I started 15 years ago. I started in Tavistock, where I taught, grade 7 and 8 primarily, but I also taught art to grade 4 all the way up through grade 8. Over the years, I've taught all grades from kindergarten all the way up to grade 8. I enjoyed them all very much.
Kindergarten too?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I taught drama one year to kindergarten, grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because they took some of my duties and they gave them to the librarian, and I was free, and they said, all right, what are we going to do with you? So I was lucky enough to have that experience,
yeah.
and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. You know, you get to see all the kids all the way through, and I hadn't had a chance before. That really gave me a good chance, so I enjoyed that. Other things I've done, I've worked with in school, making formal presentations to teachers. I've done that 3 or 4 times. I've worked with my principal the last couple of years establishing a policy in our school on homework and studying, and I had to interview the teachers to find out where they were and what their positions were on those issues. There's a lot of commonality in there, and then I wrote it up, presented it to the teachers, and we looked to see where the weaknesses were, what the strengths were, and what they wanted to say, and then I got to present it to the parents. It was a really good experience. I enjoyed that. It was fun. Other things I've done, I've been on the negotiating team for the teachers. That was a really good learning experience for me. It helped me to understand some of the broader issues that I had to deal with, the financial issues, all kinds of other. They were difficult issues at first. I was on for 3 years. The first year I did a lot of sitting and listening and feeling my way through. The second year I was the chairman of the committee, and also I got the job of consultant. And the third year I was the chief negotiator, and that was a really broadening experience for me. I have to admit, it was hard at first, sitting across the professional negotiator on the other side. I was pretty nervous, but as the year went on, I relaxed more and enjoyed what I was doing. I've been teacher in charge at schools. I've been in 2 different schools, and I've been teacher in charge in both of them from time to time. Outside of the school, I've worked on a lot of different community things. I've been a member of the rec committee in Hickson. I was a member of the hockey executive in Tavistock for a few years. I've been an elder at Central Church 5 years. I've coached kids teams for 7 or 8 years. You know, I've grown, I've got 3 sons, and that really got me into, when they got old enough, into broaden my belonging, my participation in the broader community, you know, and in where I live. And I got into coaching. Some years I did 2 or 3 teams at once, because I've got 3 sons. I know I'm going to be with this fellow in a little bit. I'm going there. I might as well be doing something there. And I went into another team, and I might as well help there. So here you are managing 2 teams and helping a third with coach, this kind of thing. So I've done that for a lot of years. When you coach these teams, you're not just dealing with the kids, though. You've got to deal with the parents. You know, often you've got to manage them and collect money from them, which usually that's no problem, but sometimes they forget, so you have to go up and ask them. Usually no problem. That's been a lot of fun, and that's really broadened my experiences and dealing with managing and organizing people. And I guess a bit about myself there.
That's right. And you've had a number of interesting opportunities as indicated from your resume, I'd like you to identify one of what you consider a contemporary educational issue. For instance, you've had involvement in early childhood education, obviously some experience in language with your grammar at the intermediate homework policies and things like that. So identify a contemporary educational issue and share with us some of your attitudes and viewpoints towards that issue, and how would you take that issue with you into the role of vice principal to make an impact in the school to which you're assigned.
Oh, that's a beauty. I have to admit. I think a big issue that probably overrides all of them for me is quality education.
Good.
I think that's one of the main issues today for everybody that's in education.
So taking that, how would you go into the school as a vice principal, new vice principal assigned to the school, and really make an impact that quality education was the most important thing to you, and that you were going to provide leadership to ensure that quality education was, the identifying component of your school?
Okay. I think one of the first things that I do to ensure that there is quality education in the school is to see to it that the staff there was a knowledgeable staff. Without knowledge, they don't know what they're doing, why they're doing it, and where they're going with it, and they wouldn't know what their curriculums are. So I think to work on that, I'd ask the staff if it was my job to, or I would support the principal anyway, and depending on just what my role became, to take their curriculums, establish goals for them, and I'd have to be a monitor to see how these goals are developing, how they're growing. If they needed information, if they needed background, if they needed materials, see to it that they got those things. Okay, so first of all, work on the knowledge background that the staff has and help them to grow with their new curriculums. A lot of new curriculums here being implemented, and help them to grow with those curriculums. Second thing I'd work on and see developing, I think, in the schools, and I'm sure there's a lot of it there, is good rapport between the students and the staff. Without a good rapport, I think kids feel good about what they're doing. Staff wouldn't feel good about what they're doing, so we wouldn't get a quality education. So I do that through communication, talking with the staff, having us all realize that we've got to feel good about our jobs and work by being open, by being sensitive, by being caring with our kids, with ourselves, with each other as staff members. And that way we do together a better job, a more caring job. I think all the staff has got to have a high level of expectation of themselves and of the students. If they don't expect the best of themselves, they won't prepare the best, and the children won't get the best. And I think for the kids, if you say to somebody, well, you can't do it, well, I guess that's all right, that's not good enough. If you can't do it, let's look at what the problems are, let's look at why you can't do this, and let's start where you can do it, and then build on that, and continue to build so these children can grow, be the best they can, because education for the children is really important. Their lives depend, their future lives, as far as I'm concerned, the quality of their lives depends on the quality of the education that they're going to get. If they don't have skills, they don't have proper attitudes towards themselves, towards their communities, towards their schooling, they're not just going to be able to do the best they can in school, and therefore they're going to come out of school without the skills that they need to compete successfully, intelligently, creatively, satisfyingly in our society. So those are the things that I would work at in that position.
Bob?
Let's move to another area. Let's say you were evaluating a teacher, and you've been in maybe 3 times, and you've had real concerns about that teacher. Teacher, just as far as you were concerned, was incompetent. What would you do with that teacher at that point?
I think there's a couple of things that comes into my mind. what I would do with a teacher that I felt was having problems with the job. I think first of all, begin with documentation. You know, what is happening in the classroom? What do I see? You know, do I see a bad report? Do I see a teacher who doesn't know the subject, not interested in knowing the subject, is just going in there collecting whatever it is that they get for pay? I see someone who doesn't care if children don't succeed. You know, go over there and be in your seat, be quiet, and do the sheet type thing. You know, begin to document these things. If we have to end up saying to this teacher, I'm sorry, but you're no longer able to work with the board or whatever, this has to be documented properly. Okay, but first, before that, you know, or maybe I should say at the same time that the documentation is going on, begin work to build that person. You know, sit down. If they're having relationship problems with the class, if things are not harmonious in there, sit down and say, you know, do you see what's happening? Do you see what you're doing? Why are you know, such and such a thing happening? If they don't know their curricula, sit down, talk again, find out what they should know, establish some goals. Here are maybe 8 goals for you to work on this year. Pick 3 of them, work with them, you know, try to develop them. You can really get into there. This is important for these kids. We cannot have a teacher in there that isn't going to do a great job for those children, you know. And
So you're showing the interest in the students and you're letting that teacher know that. How honest would you be with that teacher about your real feelings about what he's doing?
let's say that teacher was teaching my child.
Good point.
You know, I've got 3 boys, and I look at education anymore through what happens to them and myself as a parent. You know, like they've got to have a good education so they've got a chance later on. Okay, so if we have a teacher at a school who's not doing a good job, those kids are being robbed, and that's important. We've got anywhere from 20 to 30 some kids in the classroom being robbed by that teacher. That teacher had better not stay in there if there's no improvement here, okay? Now, maybe that'd be hard and not very nice and all that, and I don't think that matters a great deal. I think those kids are what matters. That's why we're here. So either that person improves or that person, I don't know what all you can do. You know, move them into another school or put them over here. Like, it costs a lot of money, I guess, to move a teacher if you're going into a legal case and whatnot. But, you know.
How would you handle it if the teacher came on in a very hostile way and really disagreed with you and started to shout and scream, maybe stormed out and slammed the door, that kind of thing?
I'd almost expect that. I would be ready for that. I would imagine, you know, if you tell somebody, hey, you're not doing a good job, and blah, blah, and that person's not going to be very happy. Okay, so for me, from my point of view, I would expect potentially that, or I would expect somebody who would get very depressed, or upset, or cry, or whatever.
How would you handle it? You expect it, but what would you do about it?
If the person got really hostile, you know, I said, okay, we can't talk today, and, you know, just leave and let the cooling down process go on, and come back. You just have to be sensitive here and see what the next day is like, or come back in a week, or, you know, keep an eye on things. But that person's got to be talked with. We've got to sit down. You know, there's no giving up. And actually, I couldn't care less if they get mad. We've got a bigger job to do here. We've got a job with those kids, okay? And something's got to be done with this person to help them, or either to deal with a major change in that person's life. You know? So, okay, they can get mad, angry, whatever.
Summarize for us what you consider the characteristics of a good teacher to be from a classroom management aspect and total school contribution.
In the classroom, I think, to me, a good teacher is one who's knowledgeable, knows what they're doing, why they're doing it, how they're going to do it. A teacher who is organized. The classroom is organized, you know, children go over there to work, over there to work, or whatever. But it's organized for work. The day book is planned. You can tell by looking at what's going on in the day. Okay. Planned also in like what's going to happen in the week. Where are you going in the next month? And longer term plan. Like what's going to happen? What does your whole year look like? What do you think you're going to do in geography, history, or whatever the subject might happen to be? Okay. So knowledge, organization, good relationships. Are those kids happy? Education should be fun. It shouldn't be just something that they hate to come. Oh, I got to go to school again. I hate it. You know, that's too bad. You see that? That's too bad. Okay? So education should be fun and interesting for those kids and pleasurable, as much as possible. Okay? So a teacher that's working for that. Throughout the school, I really like it when I see a teacher participating in not just the classroom, but in other things outside of the school, outside of the classroom, or possibly in the gym, dealing with noon hour sports, or taking a team on after school, or music. You know, it doesn't have to just be the music teacher doing something that way, or maybe other clubs, all kinds of clubs, art, newspaper, checkers, chess, anything. But get involved so that these kids can see you outside of the classroom and see the human being that you are, see what you can give, what you have to offer. Teachers have a whole lot of things that they can give children. It's used not just in the classroom, but beyond that.
Okay, let's turn to something else. Let's say you were a vice principal in a school, and you had certain specific areas that the principal and you had agreed upon that you would be responsible for. To what extent would you handle those yourself, and to what extent would you delegate some of those areas? And then if you did delegate, how would you do it?
Okay. I'm trying to get specifics on if you've got a job that says plan, pick a job. Do the duty roster. Well, you're on your own. You just have to set it up. Okay. Plan what teachers are going to teach what next year, and in what classrooms are they going to be, and this kind of thing. You can talk to teachers. You still want to teach grade 2 next year, kind of thing. Discuss with them that kind of thing, and hopefully they still want to teach what they want to, or if they want a change, if there's some agreement on that. Deal with either communicating, talking with them, finding out where they are, what do they still want to do, and then you're on your own after you've done your talking to the staff to see just what they're comfortable with, and set it up. You have to set up the year. You have to tell people what classrooms they're in and what they're going to do there. Let's say you have to take care of the stock room. What supplies we're going to have, what are our school needs. Talk to the staff. What are your needs? What do you want? More pencils? Fewer pencils? It doesn't seem like a big thing, but if you're out of pencils, that's a problem. And what notebooks do you want? So get an overall view of that. Find out what the needs are in school. Discuss that with staff, and then you're on your own to make sure that stuff's there and that it's organized and stuff. If your work is to establish new readers for grade 7s and 8s, or for grade 3, then you have to sit down and talk to the teachers and say, what readers do you think would be good? And let's bring some of them in, have a look through the skills they have, what can do these things. So you have to talk with the people and share that, and then it's up to you to get the readers in, get the money for them, to set up the budget, whatever he needs to do, and get them their readers. So that's how I go about doing that job.
Good. Research indicates that successful schools have successful leaders, and that excellent vice principals are a key, essential ingredient to a successful school. What characteristics do you consider are the essential ones to be a successful principal, successful vice principal?
Successful schools, successful principals, vice principals, administration probably have several characteristics that I've mentioned already, actually.
So, yes, you have mentioned some of them. Just summarize some of them.
I'm looking to see if there's something different. Okay, so the characteristics, I think, is that the principal's got to be a knowledgeable person. He's got to know what the job is. He has to know how to implement curriculum, what curriculums are, what to look for in his teachers and his staff. Someone who knows what the research is and is reading often, to know what the job is and what is going on in the school. Someone who enjoys people, likes people, likes to work with people. Okay? Therefore, that means that this person is a communicator, gets in touch with people. A successful school is one that's to be an open place, open to the public. The public, and by that I mean the parents of that school, don't need surprises. They want to look at that school and say, I know what's going on in there, I know what's happening to my child, and I feel good about that, you know. So how are the parents going to know about this? So I think an excellent school is one that invites the parents in. Come on in and see. Come on in and see what we're doing with your child. And when they come in and say, here's what we're doing, here's what we're doing in English, or what we're trying to do for you. You know, here are the quality people that we have working for your child. These are the kinds of things we're doing. You know? Newsletters sent home, off, you know, explaining what's going on in the school. Opens the school up. Demystifies the school. We don't need little mystery castles someplace. You know, we belong to the community. We belong to those parents. And, you know, a good school is one that's open and feels good about itself and wants people to come in there.
Let me stop there.
Okay.
Just throwing this in as a, haven't used this one. You're appointed a vice principal. You've been in the school for 6 months.
Okay.
You're just about ready to walk past. We were just walking past the staff room, and there are 4 or 5 staff members in that staff room, and we're talking about you.
Okay.
And you just have to stop and you listen for a moment or two. What are they saying about you?
Talking about it. I hope they're saying, you know, if they're talking about what I've been doing, the kind of work that I've been doing, I hope they're saying that I'm a happy person. You know, I enjoy my job, I'm having fun, I feel good about what I'm doing, right? But I hope else that they're saying, and they should be, is that I know what I'm doing. You know, I'm in there, I have a purpose, I have some goals, and this is seen, this is understood. They say that I'm a person who enjoys being with them, someone that they can come to and joke with, someone they can come to with concerns. You know, Mike, I'm having a problem with such and such a child, you know, and I can't solve it. What am I going to do? You know, hope they say that, you know, he tried to help me, he tried to do something for me. Hope it's somebody that I'm someone that they can have in their classrooms and not feel uncomfortable about it or feel that I'm in their spine, but rather somebody that's in there to help them, someone that's in there to support them, you know, just someone that they like to have around. That's what I hope they're saying. And I think they would be saying that. They say that at the schools that I've been at. I've had two different people out of the student. Like they say, you know, Mike, I come to school in the morning and I feel tired, I'm wondering about the day, and I meet you, and I get a little pickup, you know. I feel good about that, you know. And like our secretary says that, you know, I said that about him. You know. I think it's fun to have you just drop into the office for 2 seconds and tease you a bit. You know.
You're a positive person.
Yeah.
As a vice principal or as a principal, would you see yourself as a curriculum manager or a curriculum leader? And talk about that a bit.
Curriculum manager. I'm trying to sort out the word. Manager and curriculum leader. I'm not sure I'm understanding the difference in the words there. You want me to sort out for you what I think I mean? Okay. The word manager, there's a distance to that. Here you've got the curriculums and you guys take care of it. Curriculum leader, somebody who gets in there, finds out what's in those curriculums, understands what say for instance, there's going to be curriculum put on my table, but I'm not going to know a whole lot about it, okay? So I'm going to have a consultant come in and say, Mike, these are the things you ought to know about this. And sit down with me and tell me what's going on and what the objectives of the curriculum are and what's going on, the purposes of things and the goals, okay? And then I get my teeth in on these curriculum, and then I can talk with the staff, with the individual, whatever it happens to be. I can become a part of it. I don't like not being a part of things. Okay. And a manager, I see as here it is, it's your job. You find out about it, and if you need something, let me know, and I'll help you with that. You know, well, I guess if you're being a part of it, I'll help you with that. I want to be a part of it, not a distant from it. in my community. I'm part of the community through the kids at this present time, but I've also been on various little executives at the church. I've been at the executives. I've done young people. I've helped with Sunday school. You know, I like to be a part of it. And likewise in school, I like to be a part of whatever it is that we're doing. You know, so I think the role I play would be a participant role, not one that's looking from the outside, hoping things happen properly.
Mike, I'm going to change directions 180 degrees again.
Okay, let's go.
What do you do to relax?
What do I do to relax? Oh, a lot
To
of
smell
things.
the roses.
A lot of things. I got up this morning and I went outside and I said, goodness, you know, I have to be out here puttering around. Enjoy the outside. This winter I skidooed. Got out there with the kids and puttered all over the place. Had a great time. Ski. You know, we got cross-country skis. I've been wanting to get them for years. And Linda, my wife, finally got them. And I discovered just how much fun that was. You know? I really enjoyed that.
Sometimes our wives are the ones that push us into these good things, aren't they?
Yeah, she really,
Yeah.
she did.
My wife's been bugging me to do the same.
It's a lot of fun. I didn't know it was that much fun. You know, I thought it's cold out there, and I'm in the arenas all the time, you know, and I thought, well,
You don't need to be cold all the time.
yeah, but I wasn't. I come back sweating, you know.
That's right.
And on the coldest nights, I come back and I've got to peel off and shower up because I can't believe how much exercise there is there, but it's pleasurable. I can go like where we live. You can just zip out, just right out the backyard, onto the farmer's lot, and just go all over the place, and that's a lot of
You're
fun.
in a beautiful spot there by Hickson.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
We are really lucky out there.
Yeah.
We chose that spot, what, 5 years ago. I like to read. I go into, Linda doesn't like it a whole lot because it kind of narrows her shopping, but when we go to a mall or someplace, you know, I'm into a bookstore, and I'm looking for books on business management, because I think you can apply business management ideals, techniques, successes to the classroom. And so I'm in there and I'm looking around, you know, that one it's $12, I want to buy that today. And I go home and regret it, so next time I'm there, I pick it up, you know, the 1 Minute Manager or Search of Excellence, you know, things like that. Whack on the side of the head I picked up, I read. What is this? I looked inside when I was standing there in the bookstore. And, they're talking about creative ideas and how to generate them. They're talking about play, purpose of play for kids. And I said, well, this isn't a silly book. This is serious book, you know, written by a fellow who worked in what they call Silicon Valley as a consultant to those people. You know, it's just a good little book. And so I read, and I put my feet up and watch TV, watch movies. I get to that point sometimes. My creation is with my kids too. I go in the backyard and I get my ball glove out, and I'm going to have to start protecting myself because my boy's getting bigger now, but he likes to pitch, and he's whipping him harder all the time. Yeah. So I'm going to have to get some protection on it. I'm going to lose some teeth. But those are the kinds of things I enjoy.
Do you have any questions that you'd like to ask us?
Questions I like to answer.
Or a summary statement.
Okay, summary statement. I think in summarizing, I'd like to say that I believe the job as a vice principal would be interesting, exciting, be fun. You know, it would be a lot of fun. I'm not using the word fun in a light way, though, because I think education is important, really important to those kids. If we don't do a good job, those kids are negatively affected. I really believe that we have a lot to give, and that what we do matters in their lives, in their knowledge, in their attitudes, in their capabilities of fitting in our culture, Canadian democratic culture. And what we do matters. And I find education exciting and interesting. I'd like to get into this job because I think it would be a growth experience, a tremendous growth experience, professionally and personally. I think I've got a lot to offer and to give, and I'd like to do that on a bigger scale.
Thank you very much. What we will do now is take 10 minutes or so to collect our thoughts and come back in and have a debriefing session. And, thank you very much for your time. See you in a moment.
A real pleasure.
That's the corner that we're looking at.
And Mike, We'll give you this. We'll refer to this as we go through it. We haven't quite completed all of it,
Finish some.
and we'll jot down some general things at the end. First of all, how did you feel about the session?
Yeah, that was great. You know, I was more relaxed than I usually am, and enjoyed your questions. I thought, good experience. I'm happy with it.
Have you had an interview for a position of responsibility previously?
Yes, I have.
For a vice principalship?
Yes, I have.
Okay. The setup would be a little bit different than it was here, in that you'd be in a room, I suspect, with 6 or 7 other people behind a table.
I've been in a room with probably 12 or 13 people all in a big circle.
Right.
And we've been, just upstairs here.
Okay.
Yeah. That's been the situation.
During this feedback situation, our presentation to you, what I'll do is go through a number of these number of the areas quickly and highlight some things, and then Bob's going to take a little bit more time to go through one particular area or a couple of particular areas that we think you could focus on to, polish up some things, so to speak. It was evident to us during your interview and from your answers, and you'll see this when you see the video, that you are very knowledgeable, very hardworking, sincere, dedicated professional. Your educational values showed up in several of your answers with regard to particularly quality of education. A caution that I would issue to you there is that sometimes when you start speaking about something that you feel so very strongly about, you have to be careful it isn't perceived by somebody as preaching. We didn't, but some may. Your answer, for instance, when we're talking in terms of the teacher evaluation and the teacher experiencing difficulty, you brought in the personal aspect of your sons and relating to if this teacher was teaching my own child. That was excellent. That kind of thing is really important to do in interviews. And when you're talking management and problem solving are criteria that are listed there, you were able to do that as well. For instance, with regard to a question that pertained to the role of the vice principal that Bob was getting into with regard to delegation, you were in fact able to identify different aspects of the vice principal's role. And obviously as a head teacher, key teacher, whatever you would call it in the county, you've had some of that experience. And that's important. One of the questions that is often asked at the beginning of an interview, what do you consider the 5 most important characteristics of the vice principal to be, if that's the position you're applying for? And you should be able in that kind of situation to identify 3, 4, 5, how many are asked for, and be very specific about it. And Bob will follow up on the importance of being specific in a moment or two. I'm rambling on, Bob. I'm going to go through 3 or 4 things because, as I mentioned, you can hit the rest. Your leadership skills were demonstrated in several of your answers as to how you would get, for instance, staff to participate. I threw in the question with regard to you're walking by the staff room, 5 or 6 people are talking about you, what are they saying? And your answer to that was excellent. That question probably gave us as much insight as to the type of person that you are and the type of things that you do in a school as any one of the other questions that were asked. And I guess I'm boasting because it was my question.
It was a good question.
Because
so did I wrote it down.
Because that does really provide insight, and when you can do that, that's great. The answer that you gave, for instance, to the question, what do you do to relax, smell the roses? Good answer. And that is an extremely important component. And as Bob's moving into a supervisory officer role, and I'm just a rookie in it, you become increasingly aware as you go through an educational career of how important it is to be able to stand back, relax, have your own time, and do some of the things that you're talking about. And as Bob said, the wife getting into the cross-country skiing, that's good because sometimes we get so wrapped up, we become so intense that it spills over into our personal life, and so that indicates a caution too. I've rambled on, Bob. Can you deal with, probably there's 1 or 2 areas that we would like you to really focus on, and when you see the interview, you will pick up, I think, what we're talking about.
It's mainly the response style that you have, I think, and like we can see a dedication and an interest in a responsible, knowledgeable person, but there's a lack of focus in some of your answers, and I'll go through some of the notes that I made here. Did that bother you, by the way, when I was making notes?
No.
Good. I wondered, because in interviews most of the time people will be making notes. If you need to have a quicker pace, you need to focus in more clearly and more quickly on the question, and try to eliminate the extraneous kind of things. Don't be quite as wordy. Reduce the answers a little bit. Now, not to the extent, though, that you give too short an answer.
Right.
But when you see this tape, I think you'll be able to see that. Some of your physical actions detract it. For instance, your eyes would seem to be jumping in different places and maybe not focused on the person asking the question. And you looked over here sometimes. It would help if you didn't do that. You were covering your face a bit with your hands. Sometimes you said, you used slang such as gotta, that kind of thing.
Right.
You used okay a lot of times, so you'll notice that. In response to a question that you found difficult, instead of just reflecting, you said, that's a beauty, I will have to admit, you know, something like that.
What am I doing?
And it probably doesn't add to the quality of the interview in that sense. I've mentioned here, you had a series quite often of random ideas that related but didn't tie all together as well as they could, and they didn't seem to be giving an organized kind of answer. Like, we know that it's there, it's just that, and we, as Don said, we can feel that, but you have to persuade other people that are going to be very critical that it is, and that was a difficulty.
I'm going to interject here. A specific example of that, and I made a note on here, was the question that Bob asked with regard to curriculum manager and curriculum leader. And it did happen a couple of other times. Mm-hmm. And I want to reiterate that the reason we're giving this to you is because you get in an interview and polish these little things up, and we're zeroing in on one area, you're going to do well in an interview. Because while you were reflective, you sought clarification from Bob, and he wasn't going to give it to you, and sometimes we're not going to give it to you. But your answer was one of the best answers in the entire interview.
Yeah.
Yet it took a long time to get there.
But if I had given that to you, you wouldn't have been able to display that either. And I put down here, have more confidence in yourself there, because you were on the right track and it was a good answer. It's all right to ask for clarification, but in this sense, the words were clear. The problem was you didn't know exactly where to go with it. But when you went with your hunches, it was fine.
And it was an excellent answer. And as you went through it, the confidence, you'll see it. The confidence just builds. And that's really critical.
Now, we mentioned sometimes it gets to be a bit preachy, it seems. Now, I don't think that was the way you intended it, but sometimes it could come across that way. Or as jargon, for instance. Be careful of that. If you had a number of phrases, for example, the most important thing is to make sure that the kids are happy or something like that. Education should be fun. Now, they are all right, but they have to be very appropriate in the way that they fit into a response, I think. When I asked you about teacher evaluation, you had a detailed list, and then you got wordy again, and you talked about commitment to quality and to kids, which was very important in the fact that you mentioned your kids, for instance. If the teacher was teaching your kids, that's a good issue and a good way to focus. But you still didn't focus on the question quite often. For instance, I asked you about honesty with them, and you rambled before you got to it, or how you would deal with hostility, and you didn't answer that question really. At least not to my satisfaction at that point.
Just picking up on that, when I say didn't answer the question, you said I would anticipate that was going to happen, which was good.
Mm-hmm.
That was good. You'd anticipate that was going to happen. What we didn't see was the plan of action.
Right.
You anticipate it, but what's the follow-up plan of action? And having been principals in situations where you've had a teacher break down, or slam the door and charge out, or cry, like that's something where you as a vice principal or principal, you're going to be dealing with that, and you can anticipate it. You do have to be able to do something. And for instance, a comment that you made, and you'll hear it, is that I might leave it for a week. You can't, or go back the next day. You can't leave it for a week or even go back the next day. You have to have, that teacher has to have some knowledge of what is going to transpire when he or she comes back the next day, or it just gets worse. And I know you know that, Bob knows you know that, and you in fact would do that. It has to come out in the interview.
Right. Another, on delegation, for instance, you didn't focus enough there, and I think in a way you can confuse delegation and perhaps participation or communication. So you talked about, for instance, the duty roster and discussing that with staff, but was that really delegation? That was sharing with staff, and then you talked about the storeroom. Now that might have gotten into delegation, but you were talking about pencils, and it was looking at the nitty-gritty rather than the bigger issues, and it would help to focus on the bigger issues of delegation.
And just what we were looking for there, and so that you understand.
Are you just about ready, guys?
Sure are.
2 minutes.
Okay. What we were looking for there is that you as a vice principal would be identifying the strengths of your staff and able to delegate to them things that you knew they would do well. And, okay, you didn't know that was our hidden agenda, but it was. I'm telling you now. Anyway, I think you'll see from the tape, not so much from our comments, the tape, and you'll be able to recall some of the things we said. And we don't, I hope we haven't come on too strong with the communication type of thing. It's the one area, giving a focus in your answers and some of the mannerisms, because you've got the potential and the leadership skills and the knowledge to be a leader. And that's what you want. And I think you probably got in your mind a career plan for the next 5 years, the next 10 years. That's good. Make sure that you polish up some of these communication things so that we can see that the Michael that the teachers were talking about in the staff room. Because you do that, and you've got a place. This is totally off the record. I said to Bob, you reminded me of myself 7 years ago, 8 years ago. And I personally have a problem in the system of being perceived as being too task-oriented and not enough balance between the task orientation and the people orientation. And I have worked so hard to try and get a people orientation balance. And I think that's something, I don't know, I may be wrong. Make sure that that people orientation that came out in that interview, or in the staff room answer, comes across in the interview. Because that's the way you are. You're obviously a people person. And that's really important. Are the comments we made fair?
They're beautiful. I appreciate them, I really do. I'm here for help, and that's what you're offering. And I think it's great. I'm glad I came.
Okay.
Good.
That's good.
It's just super.
Great.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you. That's been a good experience for us.
Are you focused all on the TV?
Yeah. Not real good.
That thing's 35 lux. Is it?
Yeah, if it is, I think we'll just return it. That's no good.
Plus you can't keep it out in the cold
Plus,
weather.
we can't use it out in the cold.
That's supposed to be a small wonder.
be a better one than that one.
That must be the old model.
Well, that was the newer one. There was another older one than that, I thought.
Yeah, but
You know?
that one doesn't have automatic focus.
I don't care about that because I think that could be a nuisance.
Well, it also has 7 locks. It also, he never said nothing about cold, but it has 35 locks. Anything better than that.
Yeah.
Anything recent.
What?
I don't think we have another book. Cub book.
Well, she not asked for it.
No, well, I said that
Williams,
we have one.
what are you making here?
Well, that's mine.
Things to shoot at that.
No, that isn't mine. That's Brad's.
That's Jeremy's.
Well, how many of these needle things you got?
So I was working right in that same
One.
spot, but
Well, I know.
in the light.
Oh, that's a thing.
See, Dad, this is a picture that.
Oh, I know what it is.
Oh, yeah.
And I did it in a weird process. Like I just drew a straight line across. Dad,
I could
What?
tell you that.
that's automatic focus. Look, it's focusing.
Oh, you can press it ahead, yeah. You get your distance.
Oh, Brad, I'm doing it now.
Dad, like I drew a line across here,
Not down.
Yeah.
and then I drew a line across on my cardboard. Like I didn't draw a line, but I just measured how far down it was.
Brad.
I did a line and I didn't measure how far down it was in the cardboard, and then I just put the cardboard right up to that line and I just drew.
There you go.
And that's
Bradley.
a pretty easy way.
Jeremy's turn.
Actually, get this in focus. Oh,
Bradley,
come.
Jeremy's turn.
Brad, that picture isn't in focus. It's underwater.
Very gently, gentlemen. Very gentlemen, gentlemen.
What's T and H? No,
T and
T and
H.
W. See, I made a little thing to shoot at. I made a little person. Let me look at me.
Hold it now. Look at you. You're all over the courts here.
Not the corner, baby. Don't zoom on me, man.
You're going the other way over there.
Take one up at the lights and
Not too fast now.
bring it down. The light?
No, not taking the line. Won't hurt this thing, but
Trouble.
Do you want this left off for now?
I just want to see what this will do. Take a picture of people. What are you taking?
Junk.
Look where I shot it.
Take a picture of people.
I am.
There's people.
Oh no, Jeremy.
Jeremy, look where I shot it.
I got Shorty beside me here.
A little one. A little poo.
Jeremy.
Short, skinny wonder.
Okay, Dad, you get over in the picture. Jeremy. I'll tell you if it fits. Brad, you go in. Right,
It's me.
right,
Did you
and
stop that thing or is it still going?
still going.
You got your whole family,
It's
Jeremy.
us.
Hi.
Hello.
It's us here.
Bye.
Jeremy, look where I shot it.
Okay, let's go have a look at it. See what it
Jeremy,
looks like.
look where I shot it.
I didn't even did anything.
Well, turn her off now.
I didn't even did anything.
So it's me after.
Oh, Greggy's turn to fool around with it.
Jeremy,
Okay.
I get it after Greg.
Oh, we'll see.
So I want
What's the WT? Oh, the zoom. Is it?
WT, yeah, up ahead and back.
Too close.
I don't know what this little thing is for here.
I want to zoom. No, wrong way.
Don't zoom on me, man. Greg. No, I'll be kind of runny.
This isn't even in color though.
No, they're not in there.
Greg.
You can't get any more better in color.
Jeremy, look.
That?
Yeah.
Goodness, well, that's like a little TV set in there.
Greg.
When you're riding along in your automobile, you can be looking at that. TVs, like a movie. Of course, you don't get much sound, but I don't know if you can get sound out of your headset. Okay? Off with that thing.
Come on, Jeremy, you're running. Faster, come on, get those numbers. Don't see any knees up higher. Higher.
Now, you know how fast that will be in Zoom?
Plug your
How fast?
headphones in here, audio out.
Greg,
I don't know if I couldn't
look
hear.
at that.
I'll have to zoom in. Which one is it? It's this one. I'm coming, Brad. Okay.
What?
Yep, shoot.
It's pretty dark up here too. We have a pretty dark house.
I don't know.
There's nothing to compare it with.
Come, I can't see a thing.
Because this is on.
Oh.
Pretty clever. You better unwind here, or else I better unwind. Oh. There. Says a small wonder.
The low light's still flashing.
Oh, it's light as a heat.
When I had it touching the edge of the light, flashing light went out.
Dark in here. It's like under these eyes. Is flashlight going?
When I shone at the light.
We can open this iris more.
Oh,
It's dark over there.
yeah. Oh.
Ooh, a lot brighter in there.
But it's still flashing.
What? Let me get in there. Should be flashing.
Well, again, when I get some of the light itself in it, it's all right. But
Should be flashing. Silly. How much light must be outside? See? Oh, good. Still low light in here?
yeah, unless I get some of the light right up to the corner of the light there.
Can I film? What are we doing?
Just looking, exploring.
We're gonna take it back?
I don't know.
I don't know what I'm doing yet.
Condom.
8:30, you guys. We want time for bed.
There's streaks through it.
What?
Brad. Look
There shouldn't be any streaks. When you hit the light, there's streaks.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Before I'd even hit the lights, it seemed like there was white lines going down.
Standing in the streaks.
This thing can fly when it's in the better.
Can't be 35. What does that mean?
Like a magnifying glass.
Why does it say that?
I don't know. That's 35 lux. I think that's pretty bad.
Why are you, Greg?
I just from this
You
end.
can't go outside with it in the cold.
That I can shoot from this end and go all the way in the air. Hit the
Like, turn it off. So I said,
I gotta take a funny looking Jeff here. Oh. Why are you showing off, Jefferson?
That's on my bike. Your lens cap's on, man.
Well, I can see you right through it then.
I cannot.
I was supposed to shoot from right. Well, it was a Thursday night. I think Frank would call the game in. Was it there when you were here? Was it? Yeah, that's been on Tuesday.
I don't know what I'm doing with it yet, though, Jeff.